we have panelists, and panelists are very experienced people from industry. So we welcome the panelists to this session. Thank you for being here with us today. Maybe each one of you, if you can introduce yourself to the audience, it will be nice.
Good morning to you, all of you. I'm Professor Sudarshan. Background, IIT Madras, Chemical Engineering, IIM Ahmedabad. Joined Dr. Sarabhai as his assistant, executive assistant in the Indian nuclear program. Served the nuclear program for 6 years, then moved over to Bangalore to continue to serve the Indian space program for 12 years. Set up what is now known as ICICI Ventures, which is the first and largest venture capital institution in this part of Asia. Set up my own company after a 5-year stint with the venture capital industry called Intel South Tech, which provides roughly all the services that entrepreneurs require under one roof. Also do a lot of teaching in various institutes. So I happen to be the Dean of the Indian Business Academy in Bangalore. Thank you.
Thank you. Emmanuel David, happy to be with all of you this morning. I'm from XLRI and I've been largely in the automobile and for some time in the service industry, currently helping an IT-enabled service in their HR processes. I've been with the auto companies like Hindustan Motors, Eicher, Shriram Honda and Volvo, and in the startup of the Oberoi Bangalore and the Volvo.
Das Gupta. I am the HR Director of Allegan India. I've also graduated from XLRI and started off my career in Goodless Nerolac Paints, after which I moved on to Crompton. For the last 7-8 years I've been in the pharmaceutical industry, initially with Smithline Beecham and now with Allegan.
When you want to build new competencies, it requires a change in perceptions, a change in understanding the concept of leader, a change in the models of roles that you have built, and developing a very strong intent and aligning the intent to the evolving realities. Yes, leadership perceptions need to undergo a change according to the times. So one need to recalibrate the leadership perceptions. We all know what a leader and a manager is. Leader leads and a manager follows. Leader visualizes and manager executes. Leader thinks of tomorrow and manager thinks of today. Leader is a macro thinker and manager is a person who links macro with the micros. But what is the call for leaders of tomorrow and the managers of tomorrow is something one need to understand very clearly. We get fashioned quite a lot by the role models of significant others whom we meet. For tomorrow's needs there are no significant others, and in fact many people from whom perhaps there are a few and maybe one has to collect. You borrow the models. So what is your role model for tomorrow? One of the most important arenas of developing a new competency is really gain an intent. A strategic intent requires that you need to know what you want to be. Set of things to consider is the global realities with respect to the Indian situation that you're all in, or any person is in, whether it's India or any other country. In the case of India specifically, the strategic intent need to have very close relationship with the cost competitiveness which India will have for many more years to come. One need to understand innovative technology and how to use the right technology for the right cost and right application. One need to have a strong sensitivity on cross-cultural orientations and how to manage cross-cultural issues. And one of the most important thing is how you integrate a very strong approach of short-term orientation with a long-term orientation. All fine. And one of the fundamental of this particular program is we also need to look at how. It's not just the theoretical inquiry. Recalibrating one's own perception or thought processes one has there are three very important approaches. One is a cognitive approach, and the second one is an experiential approach, and the third one is an experimentation in new directions. So you have processes of change in perception brought about in thoughts, in feelings, and in actions. These three together form your worldview, and your worldview starts undergoing a change. So if you are not able to accommodate these and change your perception, whatever cognitive learning that you have, it will not get into an action frame. The difference between an intent and a strategic intent is a very strong logic that binds this particular intent with what you want to do. But when you're talking about strategic intent, you're talking about in the domain of business or domain of your career, you need to be focused, you need to be very clear, you need to channelize. So this broad channelization into a direction and creating the boundaries of your intent is the whole logic of strategic intent. Can one look at the proactive movement into the future, forecast the possibilities of what is likely to happen to industrial framework, business framework in India and where one needs to move in? And this is a very strong logic one needs to build, because if you don't build the logic now, the tomorrow's world will become alien to you. So this logic building for the strategic intent and nurturing of the same, you need to nurture it. You need to nurture it for yourself. How do you nurture it? Create situations, create opportunities, and each and every opportunity that you have, how do you nurture? Organization, there is a strategic intent. The strategic intent, the organization need to nurture and need to develop and need to bind it by certain statements. And from here, what are the various linkages to results? So this is what we are going to dwell upon. Do you think intent alone is enough?
Intent is an urge as far as it's an intent,
Yeah.
but it is a strong urge.
Just a minute.
Now the gap,
In intent, is there a dream?
it's not a dream,
There's
it's
not
just
even a
an
dream.
urge.
It is just an intent.
Yes,
it is just
it's
an
just
urge.
a
So from now you are talking about a dream.
dream.
So
Then
what do you call that dream?
a dream could be a vision, something
Could be a
you
vision.
foresee
So you are
ahead.
saying from a strategic intent there need to be a dreaming of a certain reality.
Yes,
So that would come under the purview of vision.
yes.
Okay, then from there on,
From there I feel you need to incorporate what you are, or the principles you hold, or I would say the value systems you hold within you,
yeah,
and align it to that too, because it shouldn't be against my value system, against my principles.
Yeah.
I cannot hold something
yeah.
which is a strong urge.
Yeah.
So I have to align that, and based on this I would form
Just
a
a minute,
path.
why we need to have values? What is the meaning of value? Reason for your existence. So any organization having a set of values are also talking about their reasons for their
Existence.
existence. So values real, in English when you say value, what does it mean?
Worth.
Worth. So my self-worth, an organization's self-worth stems from its articulation of its values. So you're talking about values, the need for values. So this is what gives me my logic for existence, my worth for existence, my reasoning for existence, right?
Right.
So you're talking about values. Okay, so you have a visioning, so you're talking about values, then what else are you talking about?
Another thing is, how do I get there? So
Yeah.
I have to establish some sort of a concrete step-by-step goal, a step-by-step plan, which I could achieve to reach the ultimate or fulfill my urge which I have, a strategic intent.
Yeah.
So I would call that as something like establishing goals, or
Establishing goals,
setting a
measures.
path for myself.
Now, do you set a path and go to a goal, or do you set a goal and go towards
You
that?
set a goal and then
set a
find
goal
the
and
explore a
path
path
to the
towards
goal.
that.
Set a goal and go to it. It's not like you go towards a path and see where
See,
it goes
no,
and
no.
say
No,
what the
no.
goal is. So goal is also an aspect which stems from a strong strategic intent. So you're talking about three arena. The arena of dream, the arena of visualizing, the arena what you call as visioning, the arena what you call as values,
Values.
set of values that you hold, and then you're talking about the goals. All these three would come under some sort of a generic statement. What is a generic process, generic statement it is called?
Mission statements.
statement. Of course the panel now, I would put it before the panel. What are your thought processes on this? What do you think of the logic of mission statements? What do you think is a mission statement? and what is your organization, what is your experience, how the mission statement affects the organization, how it is so relevant to the organization.
I think the basics have been covered beautifully. What goes into the articulation of a mission statement, the values, etc., that make it a impermeable and permanent asset which sets the sights of the whole organization, aligns the sights of every individual in the organization towards those values, those goals. I think I'll just give an example.
Yeah.
And I'll go away from the corporate sector to give an example. After independence, the leaders in India decided very early that we have to be self-reliant, otherwise you are finished. There were leaders who articulated these values and missions and articulated the mission statements. I'll give two examples. Homi Bhabha, fantastic perception, forecasting, planning, a great vision for a modern India. Not only articulated the need for absolute self-reliance in nuclear science and technology for India for peaceful purposes, but he also drew up the road map which after 55 years is being followed to this day because it is found to be relevant to this day. What do you call that kind of vision? It is unprecedented. We have never seen that kind of vision. You have never seen that kind of vision anywhere in the world. Vikram Sarabhai soon after envisioned a future for India in space technology and space science for practical applications for national development. Take those mission statements and vision statements. There was one operative word. India in this arena has to be self-reliant and totally self-reliant. It has now reached the stage where India can export technology, launch other people's satellites, set up nuclear plants for others, thanks to the path and the vision and the mission that was followed. Vision and mission have to be followed with one operative word, and that is called, of course, values. Values become part of the mission statement itself. There's another word, tenacity of purpose. No great organization can be built nor sustained without adherence to the founding principles, with iterations that may occur, but with tenacity of purpose. This is a statement from J.R.D. Tata. No great organization has ever been built without vision and tenacity of purpose to translate that vision into actuality.
That is very beautifully put. I just would like to add on a little different dimension to what you say. Well, I very agree with you tremendously on the vision of the country and the mission of the country. I think when you look at the why of it, why should we have a mission or a vision? I think that is the fundamental thing which binds people together. It is so important that people need an answer to the question why. Why are we doing what we are doing? And how skillfully we articulate why we are doing it is what we call the mission and the vision. And that is so important. One of the companies I worked for redefined the mission statement. The first line went by like this: by creating value for our customers, we create value for our shareholders. And I was involved in telling people about this, all the employees, and for me it made a lot of sense. I said, yes, it's only when we create value for customers can we create value for our shareholders. And here you're spanning the entire value chain, right from the customers to the shareholders, and all of us fall in between, different stakeholders. But the joy of talking about it and helping people appreciate it, and after every such meeting, people said, now we know why we are in this business. So I found that binds people together. As human beings, right from early childhood, we want to answer the question why, and more so in organizations. And I think that's where it sort of helps in having a very clearly articulated vision and mission statement. The other thing is, values, as you all have said, gives you a self-worth. Again, values are something which is integral to the heart. And that is important because Professor was talking about the cognitive aspect of it. That is the head. And then when we are performing business, we are talking of the hands, right? The integration of the head and hands does take place, but it's not so effective. But it's only when the heart is in it do you have tremendous effectiveness. So you have to integrate the head, the heart and the hands. So the values, if you like the value of the organization and they are in alignment with your own values or you modify them, I think your effectiveness is tremendous, and then collectively as a group we can do much more.
I'd first like to add one more dimension to the value, the importance of values in an organization. When it's a small organization, there is an entrepreneur who's leading it. Perhaps listing down the values of the organization is irrelevant because he's the one who takes all the decisions. His values are the organization values. But as the company grows, and once you cross the barriers of your country, of the continents, what guides people in their actions is then the values. So what I have experienced in one of the organizations I worked for, Smithline Beecham used to have core values. And what we used to do was, right when the person came into the organization, one of the first things we did was have a sort of indoctrination workshop where we talked about these 5 core values. We made them understand what those values meant in work. So what happened was, when you have a real life situation which is not covered by your SOPs and manuals and so on and so forth, then you go back to, okay, what should I do? And the answer is very clear if you go back to your core values. So that's one very critical importance of values in an organization, that if the values are clearly articulated and if there is ownership among the members of the organization, it can guide their actions as they go along. I'd also like to talk a bit about on the strategic intent concept. Couple of organizations where I worked for where I've seen this happening. Somewhere in the middle 90s, it was about 95 or 96, when many companies had just started off talking about mission, values, goals, all those things. Crompton had a very simple mission statement at that point of time, 2000 by 2000. They were talking of reaching 2000 crores by the year 2000. We were some 600 crores or 700 crores, and there wasn't so much of time, just 5 years or 6 years that they were talking about it. But the way the corporate of going for it, the company was actually able to achieve it. I'll also like to talk about strategic intent, how it affects an organization. My current company, Allergan, our strategic intent was also very simple, very clear. We wanted to be a specialty pharmaceutical company. Unfortunately, at that point of time, Allergan was not only a specialty pharmaceutical company. We had other businesses. We had a surgical business, we had a contact lens cleaning solution business, and this actually was half our sales turnover, half our employees. And Allergan decided that if we want to be in specialty pharma, we have to cut this off. So the company took, a couple of years ago, a very painful decision that yes, we will spin off this business, we will remain in specialty pharma, we will remove the other businesses which are not our forming part of our strategy. So these businesses were separated, a separate company was set up. And then they also said, okay, we said specialty pharma, we didn't just say ophthalmology. So the company moved into other lines of business. Today, we are pumping in about 18% of revenues into research and development, not just in ophthalmic segment, but also in other areas. So that we are looking at specialty business wherever we can see value for the organization, wherever we see that we can create something new, a good business model for ourselves.